part of Ura, and I know that he is very beloved, and I'm interested. I've never been to listen, so I'm here just as well as you to listen and be inspired.
Okay. Thank you. It's a little bit of pressure there. But just to give you just very briefly, I aside from the fact that I've been in the zone and I do a lot of speaking, I'm also a licensed clinical social worker in private practice. I specialize in working with both young adults who are in shidduchim age as well as working with marriages with couples. So I have a lot of experience helping people through the dating process, which I think is why they asked me to come and share with you tonight. So what I'd like to start with is just some thoughts on both just socializing and being a social being as well as marriage, and then from that let's see what we could extract from it to also think about dating. So the Chazon Ish asks a very interesting question. There's a Gemara in Shabbos. The Gemara is well known to everyone. It's the story of the non-Jew who comes first to Shammai. He says to Shammai, I'd like to become a ger on the condition that you teach me the entire Torah while I'm standing on one foot. Shammai sends him away. And he comes to Hillel, and he makes the same request. And Hillel says, sure, stand up on one foot. And he says, the aloch sani lechavrich lo yisafid, what is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow man. Zuhi kol haTorah kula. This is the entirety of the Torah. Then he says, by the way, when the non-religious say that over, they stop right there. But Hillel did not stop right there. He continued. And he said, V'idach pirusha, the rest is commentary. Zil Gmer, go out and study. And on this, the Chazon Ish asks three tremendous questions. He says, number one, we know Torah, it says in Tehillim, Aruka me'eretz mida rechava mini yam. Torah is boundless. It's longer than the land and wider than the sea. A person could engage in Torah study. You had Rav Elyashiv, who passed away a number of years ago. 100 years of intense Torah study. If we would have come to him the day before he passed and said, so you're done? He would have said, I'm just beginning. Yet, Hillel is saying to this person, I'm going to take the whole Torah and I'm going to summarize it into one sentence. How's that even possible? And if he's going to summarize the Torah into something, so we know you have Bein Adam L'Chavero, Bein Adam L'Makom. You have mitzvahs that are regarding between man and between man and Hashem. And yet, Hillel skips out. He only gives us one, which means we're only getting one, which is between man and man. What happened to the whole other group of mitzvahs that are in the Torah? And then, if he did give a one-sentence summary of the entirety of Torah, so why does he say, V'idach pirusha, there's more commentary, go study? You just told me the whole Torah when I'm standing on one foot. I'm done. Why are you telling me that I still need to go and do more? So the Chazon Ish says, to understand this, we have to really understand our purpose in the world and why Hashem set up the world the way it is. And really, we could ask the question, why is it that Hashem created us with a tremendous need for social contact? This is so deeply embedded in what it means to be a human being that without the ability to connect with another person, we are in deep pain. And the obvious proof is if they have a person in Siberia and he's freezing and they're beating him and they're starving him and working him to death, and then they want to punish him, what do they do to him? They put him in solitary confinement, because that's a greater punishment. It's worse than freezing and starving and beatings and being worked to death. The worst thing for a human being is not to have sufficient contact with another human being. And if you've ever been lonely, then you know the truth of that statement. And so the question is, if Hashem made it this way, there must be a purpose to it. Why? Hashem could have created us that we never need to encounter another human being. Hashem could make one planet for each human being. Hashem has infinite power. He could have created human beings. There are many species that never encounter another one of their kind their entire life. We could have been planted like seeds in a field from the wind, and seeds plant in the field, and we'd grow up, we'd mature, and we could walk away and do all the mitzvahs. Why did Hashem make us to need human contact so badly? Says the Chazon Ish, this is a training system for you to serve Hashem. The purpose of our being here is to serve Hashem. What is the essence of serving Hashem? The essence of serving Hashem is, I want to do A, and Hashem says I should do B. So I'll set aside what I want, and I'll do what He wants. Okay? I'm starving, I'm on the highway. I don't have any food. There's a McDonald's. I want to eat. Hashem says, don't eat. I'll set aside what I want, and I'll do what He wants. I'm very thirsty. I want a drink. I need to make a bracha. I stop what I want. I do what He wants. Hashem wanted us to learn how to do that. So He put us in a world where we need to interact with other people. And the essence of interaction with other people is, we learned this in kindergarten, okay? If you're not going to be nice and you're never going to share and you're never going to let somebody else do it, you're not going to have any friends. You're going to be very lonely. Since loneliness is painful, we learn to be nice to other people. And so it's a constant training program to teach us how to interact with others, which teaches us how to serve Hashem. And with that understanding, let's go back to our 3 questions. We asked, how could Hillel take all of the Torah and summarize it in just one statement? That's because he's saying this is the essence of the Torah. The essence of the Torah is set aside your will to do His will. And the way you're going to learn that is that what's hateful to your fellow man, you won't do. So you'll learn to set aside your will for someone else's will, which will help you serve Hashem. And so the second question was, don't we need to have a bein adam l'chavero and a bein adam l'makom? No, we don't. Because this bein adam l'chavero statement that he made is a bein adam l'makom. It's the understanding of how we get to the bein adam l'makom. And then our third question, so if it's everything, why do they need anything else? Because now you know the essence. The essence is learn to set aside your will for someone else's will. So you learn to set aside your will to do Hashem's will. Now, what should I set aside? To do what? What is it you want from me? Oh, that's the commentary. Go out and study, and you'll learn what to do with this essential lesson. Okay? So what I want to take from this, again, is this idea, the concept, that we need to, as human beings, we have a deep need to connect with other human beings, okay? And really, that's the essence of the whole idea of marriage, which we'll elaborate on. But the idea is that as a human being, in order for me to live a life that's fulfilled, I need to be connected with other people, and yes, to be deeply connected to one other. How far could a person get in such a relationship? How far can a person develop a relationship with one significant other? I heard a beautiful story from Rav David Goldwasser once. It's actually, you'll excuse me, I'm jumping the gun. We're talking about dating. I'm going to tell you some Sheva Brachos Torah, so excuse me. But nevertheless, it's such a beautiful story that illustrates so profoundly the how far and how great such a relationship could become. I think it's worthwhile hearing the story. And Rav David Goldwasser connects it to the bracha in Sheva Brachos, where we say, Ava v'achva v'shalom v'reis. We wish for the new couple that they should have all these. And he says, Ava is love. Okay? So, we said it. They should have Ava. But sometimes, it doesn't. So we say achva. That's a brotherhood is a greater connection. Sometimes it's blood is thicker than water, and it's such a deep connection. And yet sometimes brothers fight, siblings fight. We all know that. So then we say v'shalom. There should be peace. But peace sometimes is a cessation of hostilities until I get my energy back so I could fight some more. And so therefore we wish them reus. So what is this reus, this level of friendship? Sir David Goldwasser illustrated it with this story. And the story happened during the Holocaust, and there was a camp where they had families were brought there, and there were men and women who stayed in separate barracks. And one day, the Germans called everyone, had to assemble separately, men and women, and they started calling off a list of names. And it was well known in that camp that periodically they would read off a list of names, and anyone whose name was called, that was it. It was over. And if your name was not called, then you were okay. They'd leave you in the camp, and you were okay. And so this fellow is standing there, listening to the roll call, and as they call the names, he hears, I think I may have said this incorrectly. Let me just make sure I said this right. Hold on. If they called your name, okay, you'd be okay. If they don't call your name, you're gone, okay? Did I say that before? I said it backwards. I apologize. I said it backwards. Okay. So if they call your name, you're okay. If they don't call your name, you're in trouble. And he hears them call the name Moshe Schwartz. And he knows Schwartz is not here. Schwartz is not here. They don't realize he's not in the camp today. And he realizes in that moment he could save his life. All he has to do is step forward, pretend he's Schwartz, and he's safe. And in that instant that he had to make his decision, it occurred to him that if he wasn't going to be saved, his wife wouldn't either be saved. It was families. And he said to himself, how could I allow her, after all our years together, and all the difficulties we went through together, and everything that we've done together, how could I allow her to face this final judgment, and she'll come up to Shemayim without me? I cannot abandon her. And he hesitated and did not step forward, and the opportunity was lost. And they called off the names, and his name was not on the list. So everyone whose name was called is safe, except that day, the Germans switched it around to torture the Jews, and anyone whose name was called was taken out. And as soon as they dismissed them from the assembly, he ran out to find his wife, and she ran up to him, and she said, you'll never believe what happened. But when they were calling the names, they called the name of Esther Gwertzman, and I knew she wasn't here. And I could leave and be okay. And then I thought to myself, how could I leave my husband and allow him to face this terrible thing without me? And I wouldn't step forward. And that, said Rabbi Goldwasser, that's reus. That's a level of connection which exceeds and goes beyond. It's an ability to totally set aside yourself to be connected to another person. So, as a person dates, that's the hope, right? We're going to meet somebody and we're going to have such a perfect connection, and it's going to be so terrific, it's going to be that way forever. So one more Torah thought. Rav Israel Tauber of Muncie, I once heard from him, he said over the Zohar. The Zohar says that the celebration on the night of the chasana, the singing, the dancing, the joy that the couple feel while they're at this party, that provides the spiritual food that the relationship, the marriage, is yoinik. It receives its sustenance throughout all the years. It comes from the dancing and the singing that took place on the night of the chasana. And yes, that's a great question, like, what does one thing have to do with the other? So we danced, so therefore we have a long happy, like, that's just one night. What relation does the dancing have to do if it provides the spiritual nourishment for the entire life? There must be something here that we're missing just because we danced, it means something. Says Rabbi Israel Tauber, and this is the scary part, okay? When we get married, we have no idea who we're marrying, okay? Isn't that great to hear at a dating event, okay? But this is the truth, and I have to tell it to you like it is. When we get married, we have no idea who that person is. It's impossible for a human being to fully understand and comprehend the absolute amazing complexity of another human being. And a couple could be married for 30 years and 40 years and 50 years and still discover new things about their partner. So to walk into it and think, I know them totally and it's going to be totally okay, excuse me, but that's ludicrous. And it's ludicrous for everyone who's ever gotten married. Says the Zohar that if you celebrate the night of the chasana and you're singing and you're dancing, like, what are you thinking? You have no idea who you're getting. How could you celebrate? There's only one way that you could be joyous on the night of your chasana, and that is if you recognize Hashem matched me with that person. And since Hashem matched me with that person, they're perfectly suited for me and for me to bring out everything I need to bring out and to be everything I need to be. Oh, so you did it on faith. You believed in Hashem. You celebrated. You sang. You danced. You were excited. That's the spiritual food that the relationship can nurture itself from for the entire life. Okay? Because you came with faith in Hashem that He sent me the right one. Okay? And so we have three important points that we were talking about. The importance of human connection, but human connection merely as a training to teach me how to connect with Hashem. In other words, I'm going to stop looking at it as just my desperate need to be connected to another person, but rather it's purposeful. There's a goal of my connection. It's to teach me and encourage me and help me develop me to serve Hashem. Okay? So that was number one. Number two, if a person engages in that and truly engages with it, they could reach a tremendously beautiful place in a relationship that is so profound, it goes beyond imagination to think of such a couple that could have such a profound, deep relationship. So when I do this and I do it right, then I not only have the benefit of growth for the next world, but right here, I have something beautiful. And then to recognize that it's all about Hashem. It's not really me. I can't do it. And I can't choose it. And Hashem He's the one. He loves me. He wants the best for me. So He wants me to find the right one, the one that He already picked out for me before I was even born. That person was designated for me. I need to find them. Okay? But once I do this, I could adjust my thinking. Because a lot of times when people are dating, I don't know, I have in mind, it's very common. People have ideas of who they're going to marry. And it doesn't make a difference if we talk about personality traits. You've got to have a sense of humor. He's got to be like a fun guy. And then she marries the most serious guy ever. Or the guy says, only blonde hair, blue eyes. Excuse me for focusing on superficialities, but it makes it easy to illustrate. And you meet that guy, and she's brunette with brown eyes. I know someone my parents' age. He grew up in Brooklyn, and he didn't drive. He said he's only dating girls from his neighborhood, not from Brooklyn, only from his neighborhood. And he married a girl who lived in Boston, hundreds of miles away. Okay? But he was adamant that he didn't drive. And he was adamant that he was not going to date anyone outside his neighborhood. So we have a list. We have a list of requirements, a shopping list. 1 second, does he fit the shopping list? Does she fit the shopping list? Okay? Sometimes your shopping list is incorrect because you're not really able sometimes to discern what it is that you yourself need. And it's a very important point. So before I get into, I'm gonna give you some points about different things. But before I do that, I just want to mention a couple of things. Number one, I'm speaking to a group. I'm not speaking to an individual. And I recognize that some of the things I say may very well just, you'll look at me and it's like, what's this guy talking about? He's so off base. Because to you, it has no relevance. Okay? But I'm speaking to many people, so it might have relevance to somebody else. And if I say something and it has no relevance to you, just throw it out. Don't worry about it. Okay? Sometimes if I say something, this will lead into my second point. Sometimes if I say something and you're so dead sure it has no relevance, just if someone says to you, hey, did you hear when he said such and such? Just reconsider the possibility that it might actually have relevance. Okay? Which leads me to my next point. And I'm hesitant speaking to people because you're mature adults and I don't want to appear condescending or I'm telling you something. I don't really, just like I said, nobody gets married really knowing the other person. I don't know you and I don't know more than you. Maybe I've been around a few years and I've seen a few things so I could share with you some of the things I've seen, but I'm not here as the expert or the know-it-all or I know better than you. I don't. But there are a few things that I could share with you that I've encountered that might be useful to you. So I want to say that sometimes I've had people who come to see me. Sometimes they're very wise. They're just on the cusp of beginning to date. And they come. And when I ask them, why are you here? I say, listen, I'm soon going to be starting to date. And I recognize there's something about myself that I know is not really as it should be. And so before they even begin the process, and this is true even if you've begun the process, if you know something about yourself that's not really as it should be, whatever it is, it's a good idea before marriage to work on it, to fix it. The healthier you are when you date, the healthier the people you're going to date, and the more likely you're going to get somebody who's healthy. Okay? There's a sort of a saying, water finds its level. People tend to marry someone who has very similar levels as them in many ways. And so I don't want to be more specific than that unless you need me to, but I'm just saying if there's something about yourself that you're aware of that you need to fix, work on it now. I want to give you some hope. I already said a few things that I need to help you understand, and so you should be hopeful. But I do want to share with you, I have a daughter who was a counselor in the zone. She was in the zone several years. That was a number of years ago. And then she was older. She was dating. And she went through a year and a half, 18 months, that not only did she not have a date, she did not have a single suggestion. The phone did not ring once. There was nothing, zero on the horizon. Not that we didn't try talking to people or whatever. 18 months, not a call, not a suggestion, not a date. After 18 months, we got a call. So let me tell you how the call came about. I have a sister-in-law. She was talking to a friend of hers, and her friend said that her friend had a daughter who went out with a guy, and it wasn't a shidduch, but it was a really good guy. She heard about this really good guy, and she wishes she could find someone for this guy. And my sister-in-law said, I have a niece. Okay, so here, neither of them knew the guy. Neither of them. My sister-in-law knew my daughter, and they made the suggestion. And Baruch Hashem, they were married. She hadn't gone out in a year and a half, and there was a little delay. We were going to Eretz Yisrael. I had to call up the shotgun and say, listen, I just want you to know, it's not that we're not interested, but we're, just as you gave us this name, we're going away for 2 weeks. So when we came back, within a month or so after that, she was a kala. Okay? So there's hope. Even if it feels so lonely, and even if it feels like nothing is happening, and even if it feels like it never will happen, don't lose hope. It could happen in 3 weeks from now. You could be engaged. 3 weeks from now, you could be engaged. It's possible. So never lose hope. Okay. So what is dating about? dating is about getting married. Here's the thing. Dating is not about dating. A lot of times people get so focused on the dating, they're just dating to date, to get engaged. No. You need a date. I think it's in tennis and golf, they say follow through on your swing. When you swing, don't only swing to the point where you meet the ball, but you need to think it and see it all the way through. You need to look through dating as dating to marriage. I'm dating to marriage, so I need to know what's important over there. Okay? It's very, since I can't pick somebody who I'm going to know and everything is going to be okay, because it's impossible to do so, then I need to keep in mind that what I need is to meet someone that I could marry, that we could grow together over the next decades. That's the point. It's not for here, it's for there. I often tell people, and it's funny because I do marriage counseling as well, so it comes up all the time. I often tell people who are dating, said, I just want you to know, I guarantee you that when you get married, as much as you love each other and as happy as you are together, he or she is going to have one thing that they do, at least one, that will drive you up the wall. And as much as you tell them, they will not stop. And it's not because they don't care or they don't love you. I've had couples come and say, I can't believe it. What's wrong with him? Right? The old toothpaste, squeeze it in the middle or the bottom. And the lady looks at me and she says, he's the guy yelling, and she looks at me and she says, I can't believe it. I don't know if I want to stay married to a guy who's losing it over a stupid tube of toothpaste. Right? So what's the point? The point is not the toothpaste. To him, you don't love me if you're squeezing it in the middle. To her, she picks up the toothpaste. She says, what do you want from me? I'm brushing my teeth. I should think about that too. What do you want from me? Now, here's the thing. The mistake is to think you're not going to have something like that. There is going to be something that will drive you up the wall, and that's the way Hashem intends it. Welcome to marriage. It's a growth opportunity. Marriage is about personal growth. It's not just, okay, we'll get through the dating, we got married, Baruch Hashem, and we live happily ever after. That's when the real work begins. Of course, if you put in the work, you get to what that couple got to. Wow, that's beautiful. That's deep. That's meaningful. It's worth it. But it's not free. It's worth it. But it's effort. And so as you're dating, you have to change your outlook in the dating. So further to what I said, don't expect, like, when you meet the one, like all of a sudden the birds are going to be flying and the harps are going to be playing and the stars. Chemistry is overrated. Okay, now let me tell you something. You're going to meet couples that will tell you the first time we met, I knew it. They're not lying. But that doesn't mean it has to work that way. And it doesn't even mean that people who had chemistry from the beginning will get engaged. It doesn't mean they're going to be married, and it doesn't mean they'll be successfully married. It doesn't mean not, but it doesn't have to be. So it's a mistake to say, well, it can't be the one because I'm not feeling, I'm not hearing. So you're not. That's not what it's about. That's not how you measure whether this person is correct for me. Okay? So if that's the case, how do you measure? So firstly, I like Rav Ben-Zion Schaefer. He puts it. He has a book on this also, and he puts it really nicely. I've heard him lecture also on this, and he likes to call it the paper test and the Basher test. But nevertheless, it has to make sense, first of all. On paper, it has to make sense. I was once listening to a talk show on the radio. Someone called in. I'm a therapist, so I listened to the one with the therapy type thing. Someone calls in, and they're married, I don't know how many years, and they just discovered that after all these years, she said, okay, so, maybe now we're ready to have kids. And he said, kids? I don't want to have kids. And they were married like 10 years. It's like, really? You serious? That never came up. It was never something they discussed, okay? So they didn't pass the paper test, right? They didn't know whether it made sense. It has to reasonably make sense. There has to be, yes, we have similarities. We don't have to be exactly alike. That's if two people are thinking alike, one of them is unnecessary, okay? So it's good that you have differences, And yet, not opposites. They say opposites attract. It's not really true, but it is true that people will compensate for other people's things. If you have two people, let's say, who are very easy to spend, they'll never have enough money, and the electricity be turned on because neither of them has the ability to manage money. But if you have two people who both are very, I don't want to say cheap because that's not nice, right? But if you have two people that both manage their money, they're very conservative, thank you for the word, they're very conservative, they'll never have enough. The kids will always be saying, but I need, and they do. And the kids will not have enough. So too much overlap sometimes, but which quality should overlap, shouldn't overlap? Again, you're trying to be God. A human being cannot fully comprehend and encompass another human being. You don't even understand yourself fully, ever. How will you possibly understand another person and then see, oh, these overlaps are good and these aren't? It doesn't make any sense. It's impossible to do it that way. So you have to do it a different way. What you need is, that it makes sense on paper. When we look it over, when we think of it logically, it makes sense. And then you date the person, and you could be comfortable with them. It doesn't have to be all sorts of chemistry and whatever, but I could feel comfortable with them. I could talk to them. When we talk, it's comfortable. It doesn't have to be that I'm looking at my watch, oh no, till when can I'm going to see her again. It doesn't have to be like that. That's not necessary. But just that you feel comfortable around the person and you could see the possibility of growing together, because that's what it's going to take anyway, and then it could be okay. Now, what if you're not sure? So if you're not sure, you need to talk it over with somebody else. So here, I'm sorry if I'm going to sound, if you think this is condescending. But I'm sorry because I really have to tell it to you the way it is. If you go to talk it over with your friend, whether your friend is single, whether they're already married 4 years, okay, they don't really necessarily, and sometimes it happens sometimes that you have someone like that can help you, but usually someone like that is not in a position to help you with this dilemma. It's not a knock at them. The truth is that some people, let's say you have someone who's older, so what? Maybe they only went out with one person or with 5 people. How could they answer for me? It's not because they did everything that you're doing. You want to talk it over with someone who has been around a while, who has some wisdom. Preferably they've already talked to other people. Preferably they actually know you. You do better speaking it over with a mentor of some sort that already has a relationship with you and knows something about you. But when you encounter someone that has been seasoned by life, even if not necessarily in your particular area, and they're also working with people who are doing this, they are better positioned to help you. That's not a knock at your friend who's married 4 years, maybe very happily, and cannot see you together. I have to tell you my personal thing. When I dated my wife, I only knew one other person who knew both of us. My best friend was married already almost a year. No, less than that. And his wife was in my wife's class throughout, from kindergarten through the end of high school. And my friend and I were so tight, we spent tons of time together. So she had, from the time she got engaged, she knew me already. And I went over to her and I did not tell her that we're dating and we're soon going to be engaged. And I just asked her I said, could I run a name by you? And I said the name. And this is what she said to me. I'll never forget it. She said it exactly like this. Not for you. Not for you. Okay? It's 32 years later, Baruch Hashem. We have, B'li Ayin Hara, a very good marriage. But she knew. She knew it wasn't for us, right? So how did she know she didn't know? I have no time on her. I had no time on her then. I have no time on her now. Okay? And what was I really looking for? I don't even know what I was looking for. I already knew that we were pretty much getting engaged. So I don't know what I was looking for. So whatever. But sometimes someone with one word breaks a shidduch that could have been a great shidduch. And they mean well a lot of times. She didn't say it to me to be mean. If I would have prefaced it by saying I was dating her, I doubt she would have said anything. She happens to be a nice person and a smart person. She wouldn't have said anything. She didn't know I was dating her. So she said it. I could see why she would think that we didn't fit together. I'm an outgoing, talkative person. My wife, even more so then, was very quiet and introverted. So, you know, here you have this guy, he's loud and he's making all noise and making trouble. And, you know, you have this nice girl, never she fell in, what could I tell you? But that's what happened. That's what happened. And that's where the opposite thing comes into play. So here's the thing. I've already spoken longer than I really expected to. I do have some tips on the date part itself. I'm going to give you two choices. Either I could speak some more, or I could stop and we could do question and answer. So I'm really putting it up to either you or the participants, however you'd like to do it.
Keep talking.
Okay?
I'll take the tips.
Take some tips? Okay. Anybody? I'm a professor, so I teach classes with men and women, and studies show that men will always jump in first. If a teacher wants to get feedback, even in public schools, if they want to get feedback from the girls, they need to wait an extra beat. Okay? It's an observation of reality backed by research. Okay? So it's just a reality. So, okay.
Maybe we could filter over the ones who don't have questions on the tips.
Okay. Okay, so just very briefly, I'll go through a few points very briefly, okay? So, number one, I believe that any activity, I'm going to talk a little bit faster now. If I speak too fast, just, you know, motion to me, I'll slow down, okay? I believe that any activity you're going to engage in, if you're going to be successful, you need to know what the goal is. What is the goal? If I don't know the goal, I cannot be successful, okay? What is the goal of a date? So the goal of a date is to allow the other person to get to know me and I get to know them. That's it. I'm going to know a little bit more. When the date is over, I will know some more about them. They will know some more about me. As we get further into the dating, further dates in, then it deepens a little. But at least initially, for sure, it's very simple. I want to find out somewhat about them, and I want them to find out somewhat about me. Therefore, in doing that, now I'm going to just give you some nitty-gritty things. So, don't overshare and don't be too quiet. So if I'm talking to you and you're someone who tends to be very talkative, like me, then I'm telling you that when someone asks you something, try to boil it down to a sentence initially. And then if they appear to be interested, you can give them a little bit more. But if you're the type of person that generally when people talk to you, it's like pulling teeth or you get very nervous and then you get clammed up, then I'm telling you, think in terms of a paragraph. If the person asks you a question, paragraph is 3 sentences. I've taught high school English, 3 to 4 sentences. Try to give them a few sentences. Now, here's what's going to happen. If you're the type of person that tends to talk a lot, when I told you to think of 1 sentence, it'll come out as 2 or 3. It'll be beautiful. And if you're the type of person that tends to give the one-word answers, and I told you a paragraph, you'll get at least a sentence, and it'll work, okay? But it's very important to know yourself and then push yourself, because remember the goal. The goal is that they will get to know me and I'm going to get to know them, and they can't achieve they're not going to be satisfied with a date if they came out of it and all I did was a monologue about how whatever, either the thing I'm interested in or how great I am, right? So it's not going to work, and vice versa. If the person is done with the date, and I've had complaints from girls that guys do either one of these. I've had complaints from guys that girls do one of these. This is not gender-based. This is personality-based. So whichever personality you are, know yourself, push yourself. Ask open-ended questions. I'm sure you've heard it before. Open-ended questions are questions that cannot be answered with one word. Yes, no. Do you like school? Yes, no. What is it about school that you like? Okay. What's your favorite part of going to school? What did you hate most about going to school? It's much more difficult to answer those with one word, and they tend to draw more information, the conversation flows so it's more comfortable, and you actually got to know something about the other party. Okay? Follow-up questions when someone said something and it's interesting to you. So look at it as interesting, even if it seemed a little bit surprising or shocking that someone would actually say that. Just view it as interesting, and then ask a further question. You may find you misunderstood the first part. Someone expressed themselves in a way that is not aligned with the way you would express yourself, and so you got the impression of A, when in actuality it was B. Okay? If they asked you something that sounded totally like way out there crazy, don't respond before you clarify with a question, like exactly what they're looking for. A guy told me he was on a date, and the girl asked him to say over his bar mitzvah speech. Okay? She wanted to know if he said a Rav Chaim. Now, I don't know. I wasn't on the date. Either the girl is really far out there, something's wrong, or he didn't really understand what she wanted. I don't know. I don't know. But had he asked her a follow-up question, there wouldn't be any doubt. He could say, this girl is woo. Or he could say, wow, that was funny. It would be a funny story that they could tell their grandkids how he thought she was asking for his pshatel. I don't know. Okay, what if you have something that is difficult information that you really have been told that you need to share it with the other party? Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not poskening any shilas over here, but I want you to understand how this works. Sometimes when someone has dated a while and they have this thing, and whenever they say it, it breaks things off, then they say, next time I just want to tell the person beforehand. Big mistake. Very wrong. To not tell it at all, very wrong. Big mistake. However, if you reveal that piece of information, so what, I'm going to fool them? I'm fooling him? I'm fooling her? No. You're being unfair if you drop that nugget in the first date because they have no context in which to put it. And it's obviously it's something important that needs to be shared. But first, give them something to, oh, okay, so overall, she's like this, but there's also this. Overall, he's like that. So there's something to contain it with. Initially, if that's the only piece of information you have, of course not. But there may be other information that's important, and you've now destroyed the other person's ability to actually find out about you, and you're very special. You're very special. And you've now created a situation where the other person is not going to have the opportunity to realistically make a decision because you've revealed something before there was enough there to allow for it to be revealed. To not reveal is absolutely wrong, and I've dealt with the fallout of that, and the end of the story is that there's a get. Because somebody thought they were being smart. When somebody gets into a marriage, if they knew beforehand and they were able to see the person and say, wow, you know, this person is very special. Yes, there's this challenge. I'm willing to stretch myself and work with them because of all the rest. Then, even when it gets rough, they say, okay, but this is what I signed up for. I realized we have this thing and I signed up for it. If someone gets blindsided, aside from the fact that they're no longer willing to even consider working on this thing, right? There's no trust anymore. And a marriage is based on trust. If they can't trust you, then they can't trust anything. Then it's over. Okay? So again, if there's something that you're aware of that you need to share with the other party, don't take whatever I just said as being either your hadracha or your halacha or your hashkafa or anything. That's when you must talk it over with someone who could tell you what to do. I'm talking to a mass of people, not to an individual. However, the idea behind it, I'd like you to understand, is again, that you need to let people have context in which they could understand it, but make sure that they have the information early enough in the process so that they can decide for themselves rather than they're stuck. So what happens if you've been dating a long time and it hasn't been going? So that's very difficult, and I feel for you because aside from the loneliness, there's a little bit of difficulty, and you start feeling despairing, and will it ever happen, and won't it ever happen, and it becomes very difficult. I'll give you some thoughts on it, but even as I say these thoughts, I'm just pointing out to you, I'm not trying to negate or dismiss any pain that you're feeling. It's difficult. It's a difficult parsha to go through. But nevertheless, some ideas, some thoughts that you could use to recognize we're not in control. If we're going to be successful at this, it's totally on Hashem's schedule, in Hashem's hands. It's not, we know, as I said in the beginning, we're not able to choose and to know anything. So then clearly we have to be relying on Him. And if we're relying on Him, then we have to say Hashem has His plan. And I don't know why it is, but this is what I'm faced with. Someone had a quip. They said that it worked for them. The first 99 are just practice, okay? So that way when you get to know, okay, so what? So what? And someone actually told me that it was close, right? So the first 99 were practice, right? Okay. And then you could look at it as each encounter brought you one closer to the one that you have to see. And that's true whether you actually dated the person, whether you never dated them, but you had to go through checking the information, or even an idea that came up and you never saw them. Nobody says that it has to be that you actually went on a date to get through whatever number Hashem has in mind for you before you find the right one. But if it happens, you know, and you did get that no, and you thought that maybe there was a reason why this time it should have been a yes, or that you wanted or you thought or whatever, so then to just tell yourself, okay, but at least I'm one closer. I'm one closer to the end. Whatever that number is, I've gotten through one more, I'm one closer. And so it leads you to this difficult place where each time that you begin, you have to be hopeful that you have to go out with this one. When I choose to go out with this one, it's because I believe that this one can be the one, even as I recognize it may not be. It's a difficult place to keep. You have to stay hopeful. If you become cynical, then it's very bad and very difficult, and very frankly, it's difficult to be attracted to someone who's cynical. So if you're cynical, then it's just that much more difficult for the other person to appreciate everything about you and who you are. So it masks all that specialness that's within you, within everybody. Every human being has so much in them. And when you're cynical, the other person can't see it. It doesn't mean it's not there, but if they can't see it, they can't be attracted to it, it can't go through. So it's very important not to become cynical. And then I'll just end with one. I will say also that if there ever is a need to give a no, let the person down easy. You don't like getting a no. So if you do need to give a no, make sure that you handle the person in the same way you would want to be handled if you were getting the no. And finally, I'll say one other thought, which is not directly related to the dating, but this happens sometimes when you have somebody, they've been dating a while, and they haven't yet been zeicha to find the right person, and their life is somewhat in a holding pattern. So they were going to go to Eretz Yisrael, but I'm not going because maybe, you know, and this comes up, but maybe. It is very important that you continue to live your life. It is very important that you continue to enjoy life. It's very important that you continue to grow. If you're going to put yourself in a holding pattern, you're going to stagnate, you're not going to grow. And aside from the fact it's going to make you more unhappy, it makes the dating process more difficult, and it will also take away opportunities that you would have had. Yitzchak Avinu could not get married till after the Akedah, because he had to develop himself to that level where he was roy, that he was worthy, that he was on a level that he matched Rivka. Before the Akedah, he couldn't have married Rivka because he wasn't her zivig. He didn't match who she was. It's important to continue to grow. And I want to just tell you, on Rosh Hashanah in the zone, when I said this, Rabbi Davidowitz was sitting next to me, if you know him from the zone, and Rabbi Davidowitz said over that he went out with a girl, and he really liked her, and she said he was way too quiet. And you know, Rabbi Davidowitz, he's very public, but he's very quiet. There's a part of him that's very, he doesn't push himself forward. And the girl just, and he said to the shadchan, tell her I'll go out with her again, I'm gonna bring myself. Didn't happen. Several years passed, and he was read a shidduch. And the girl didn't realize it was him. So she said yes to the shidduch, and then realized that it was him, but it was embarrassing, so they went out. That's Mrs. Davidowitz, okay? That's who he's married to for decades. At Kanai Nahara, they raised a beautiful family together. If you know them, they're an extremely close, warm, connected couple. But the first time that she met him, it wasn't for her. Now, here's the interesting thing. When he said this, he said the following. In between, in those years, I started a yeshiva. I was working with boys. I had to talk to parents. I became a different person. It wasn't that she missed the boat. He really didn't match her the first time around. He was too quiet for her. But he continued to live. And he grew into the person that was a perfect match for her. So everything else was good. Now he had that outgoingness to him that she could appreciate, and they got married, they lived happily ever after, Baruch Hashem. So don't stop living. Don't put yourself in a holding pattern. Continue to live. And Hashem should help that you should all be zeicha to find your right zivig b'karav, and you should live happy, healthy lives.